Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, before we start today's episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, I want to say that if you'd like to help support the show, you can buy patches and stickers at writingshotgunwithcharlie.com. If you are watching the show on YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It does all good stuff for all things YouTube. If you're listening to the show on podcast, please give us a 5-star review and leave a good review there. That is always greatly appreciated. And we thank you guys for watching the show. All right, today on Riding Shotgun with Charlie, we are in Newburgh, New York, and we have with us a couple of guys who have kept their anonymity until today. We have Mike and Big Keith from the Gun Experiment podcast. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Boom. We have to thank Big Keith for letting us use his vintage Lincoln. Oh, yeah, we got that on. Yeah, the vintage Lincoln. And I love that people trust me not just to ride in their car, but to drive their car as well. All right, so let's talk about you guys. Let's not get run over by other cars.
Yeah, let's not crash the car.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
It's a bad start to the show.
Right, that would not go well. So I have not been in an accident in a show, and I am not going to start today.
Thank you.
So that is greatly appreciated. All right, so how did you guys get into gun stuff? Did you guys grow up hunting or shooting? Were guns always in the house growing up?
Keith, why don't you take this one?
They weren't always in my direct house. My parents weren't really gun people. My family was. My grandparents, my godparents, aunts and uncles. And that's really where I started. My grandfather gave me my first gun when I was probably about 13 years old. Mm-hmm. And he would throw coffee cans up and let me blast them with the shotgun. That's probably where I first developed my love for shotguns. Cool. And that's really where my introduction to firearms began, and didn't really kick in the way it has the last 5 or so years until I moved into the neighborhood with Mike.
Okay, cool.
And for me, so my dad was always a hunter. He just enjoyed the outdoors, and guns were kind of always around. I remember going to the hunting camp. Like, all my cousins had guns. They all had like a pistol on their side at all times. It seemed like.
Really?
And I grew up in the era of Rambo.
Right.
And I remember as a kid watching Rambo and being like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I just thought
every time you shoot a bow, something's going to explode.
Yeah. And I see kids today that are like, guns are scary, and I don't get it because I thought they were the coolest things ever.
Right.
But my dad was into it, so.
Yeah, I know.
So not only did I get to see them on TV and think they were cool, but then I got to actually see them in real life, and that just kind of made it better, And then my dad was supportive of it, so he taught me to shoot, and
that's cool.
Took me hunting, and I've been doing it since. I've probably been shooting a gun since I'm like 8 years old or something like that.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I got a BB gun when I was a kid, and was allowed to take it out anytime I wanted and shoot cans and stuff like that. So it was just always around. You know? It was never a big deal. It was just always around.
That's cool. Did you do any hunting?
Yeah, really unsuccessful for many years. I actually just got my first deer a couple years ago. And,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I did it and then stopped. At some point I was chasing around the ladies instead of the deer, and I kind of gave it up, and then got back into it as an adult.
Chasing around the DEAR. That's cool. I'm a wildly unsuccessful hunter. But I did do a hunt last year in New Jersey with the folks from the CNJFO, and I think out of the 12 birds in our squad, I shot 6 of them. So that was pretty cool. But
I'll give you a little tip: go where the deer are. For years I went, there was no deer, and now I see them all the time, and I get them. So just go where they're at.
That's makes it so much easier.
Yeah, it really does.
It really does. Yeah, my bow hunting, my deer hunting experience is sitting in a tree with a bow, having a romantic afternoon, dropping the book, taking a nap, and then sitting there and wondering what the hell I'm doing after a couple hours.
Yeah.
And then my buddy will go in there. He's like, oh yeah, I went up there, I smoked a couple cigarettes, some deer went by. I shot right over the back of it. It stayed there. It didn't move. I shot again. I'm like, my sights are screwed up, and the deer walked off.
I have to give my father credit. Like he still took me to go hunting. My family would always go like the first day of hunting season. They had a little camp up north. He was not a hunter. He didn't own guns, but he always took me with him.
That's cool.
To go hang out with the guys that did, and
some quality guy time.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
We would hang out and have pancakes, and they were already done hunting or whatever, but it was good to have that experience growing up, and I think that kind of normalized firearms for me.
I think even if you're not a hunter, bringing your kids around a hunting camp, it's great. I mean, it's a very old tradition in this country, and not to romanticize it too much, but I feel like it's just something that everyone should have a little bit of experience of being around,
Yeah, I agree. I didn't have any of that growing up. My father died when I was young, and I was raised by my mother, and I've got 4 sisters, so everybody had long hair and earrings. That was just what it was.
Yeah, Keith's about to start taking it up again.
Yeah.
Or taking it up, I should say.
I just finished building a hunting rifle. And,
nice.
Next season I'm going to start right away. I got a little behind. There was a couple issues when I was putting together the rifle. Didn't get it together in time for the opening day, and then time got away from me. But I'm licensed and ready to go.
That's awesome. The last time I took my kids hunting, because that was one of the things that I'm like, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to drag the kids out, and they'll have some fun stories. I brought my son up to the top of a hill, and he started stomping halfway down. I am not doing this, and I am going home. I'm like, you're 7, get back up here. And then we sit down. We were going turkey hunting, and we put him up against the tree. He was out cold. And then my daughter, she was excited. I had like a camo jumpsuit, a onesie, like a jumpsuit, right? One-piece suit. And we got up. She was excited to get up. We went to Dunkin' Donuts, got some coffee, got a chocolate milk, got a donut, got out to the woods. We're there for probably 3 minutes, and she's like, what's that? What's that? I'm like, it's a squirrel. No, I think it's a monster. I'm like, it's not a monster, sweetheart.
It's a monster squirrel.
Right.
Yeah, there are some monster squirrels.
We gotta go. So we were home by 6. we left at 5. We were home by 6.
Someone I know was just telling me a story that older gentleman, that when his son was young, he said, why don't you come out in the woods with me? He said, we'll do a little hunt today. So first time ever, he takes him in the backyard. They had some property, and they walk out, and the father says, I'm gonna climb up, you're gonna hand me up the rifle, and then you're gonna climb up.
Yeah.
So the father climbs up, and as he's halfway up the ladder, he looks, and there's a deer looking at him.
Oh my gosh.
And he says to his son, take the safety off and shoot the deer. Kid shoots the deer, drops the deer. They literally are in the woods for like 3 minutes.
Unbelievable.
So then he said, I could never get my son into hunting after that, because he always thought that's how hunting was. That you just went in the woods and just shot a deer.
You never had to wait hours in the cold.
Yeah,
right.
So and the next time you had to wait an hour, he's like, I'm not doing this.
This is a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took my son hunting one time, and he's like shaking the tree. I'm like, dude, this is not how we do this. Oh, man. So what kind of shooting did you guys get into once you got back into it? Rifles, long gun, you said you were a big shotgun?
22s were really where I think I got really back into it.
Was that with me? Was that like us kind of
that
us
was really
arguing?
it for you. You started it when I moved into the neighborhood. Mike and I are neighbors, for those that don't know. And when I moved into the neighborhood, Mike started a 22 shoot around Christmas time, and so the whole neighborhood.
You guys didn't know each other beforehand?
No. We actually went to the same high school, but we're about 6 years apart. So
yeah.
So we have mutual friends that we know each other, but we just moved into this great neighborhood that, surprisingly, in New York is very pro-gun. Like, pretty much the entire neighborhood is gun owners. I mean, we have like 15 guys that shoot with us in the shoot.
That's cool.
And that's really where I think it started. A little bit of competition kicked in. We got into the shoot, and I saw Mike with this killer 22, and I saw some other people with some, and I was like, that's it. I got to build a 22. This is gotta.
Yeah.
And it's just really escalated from there, and it keeps. Whenever somebody new moves into the neighborhood, we invite them in, and then they get the itch too. And
Do you chase them away from the neighborhood?
Yeah, we've had a couple people leave that.
A couple people that don't want to hang out.
That don't want to hang out.
Yeah. For the most part, we were lucky. We're very lucky.
We're very lucky now.
Yeah. For me, like I mentioned back in the days of the hunting camp, like I said, all the guys had pistols, and so for me, my whole life, I just was like, I can't wait to get a pistol because I had a BB gun, and then my dad gave me like a small caliber rifle to do my first deer hunt. Yeah. So I had shot guns before, but that pistol was like, you get a permit, you get a pistol. I couldn't wait to have one. So like the day I turned 21, it was like paperwork sent in, like I wanted a pistol. Nice. And so I've always kind of had this like affinity for pistols. I like them. I like tactical stuff, just I don't know, maybe LARPing a little bit, like thinking like I'm something that I'm not. But I enjoy that. I enjoy that kind of like, moving and running and gunning, and I think that's kind of cool. I probably don't do it as much as I should.
After the 22, I think I turned into the FUD and just started really getting into shotguns again.
Yeah.
And unsuccessfully, we tried to play some trap this morning. It was a little too cold, but
right. It was
sorry,
a little
Charlie.
chilly.
Yeah.
But 2 hours, can't go trap shooting. Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's only 12 degrees out.
That's
a heat wave.
That's really probably my favorite thing to shoot competition.
My least favorite, by far, the thing I'm the worst at is trap shooting.
Have you guys gone to do sporting clays?
I've done sporting clays a couple times. I recently started really playing skeet a lot, and my favorite part of that game is avoiding shrapnel after you hit one of the clays. I just there's a couple stations where
you always say that. Is it really that bad?
It's so much fun. I got you get like the
peppered, Station
5, that last station.
The last station.
They're right over top of you. You can get peppered with shrapnel real easy.
As long as it's shrapnel, not birdshot.
That's so far it's been shrapnel.
So far it's been good.
Have you ever done 5-stand? Do you know what that is?
I have not done 5-stand.
I've done that. I was equally bad at that.
Good.
But it's interesting. It's an interesting game. A little different.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what it is?
I'm not 100% sure.
So there's 5 stands, obviously, and each stand is a different angle, and you take 3 shots. So the first one is it's 1 shot, and then the following shot comes on report. The next shot is, I forget the exact date. It's 2 shots, and the last one is you just shoot, bang, bang, 2 shots. So there's 3 different ways you do it, and then there's multiple houses. So it shoots from behind you, on the side of you, coming at you. So you get all these different angles based on the stand you're at, and all the different houses that are shooting the clays at you.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's 2 shots per stand.
Nice. And what's nice about where we live, all of those games are available anytime you really want to play. 5-stand, sporting clays, trap, skeet. They're all within like a 25-minute drive of each other. And,
oh my God, that's
Are you trying to say we're fuddy?
You should say there's a lot of shotgunning opportunity.
Yeah. Are we fuddy?
You're not fuddy.
No, I'm not.
Fuddy, but our area where we live is fuddy.
It is, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I would agree.
I mean, I self-admittedly call myself a fud.
You do. You're not really a fud.
I'm not, but my shotguns are.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I always say is when people try to figure out what they like to do, I'm like, the people that want to carry don't want to go hunting. The people that want to go hunting don't want to carry.
Yep.
And nobody knows what's going on with the shotgunners. Right?
The shotgunners are definitely its own thing.
Well, we joke around about living in New York, about how shotguns, if you find yourself in a self-defense situation, a home defense situation, a shotgun is your best choice, because in New York everyone's like, oh, everybody's got a shotgun. They don't think anything bad about it.
Much
you shoot
more
somebody with your AR, and
it's much more unassuming, right? It's like shotguns are okay.
Right.
Don't let that get out. Shh. We don't want that secret out there.
Right. Well, I guess the shotgun guys, you always assume that the shotgun guys aren't guys that are into ARs, or maybe not handgun guys, and they think that the anti-gun folks are they're not going to come after a double-barrel shotgun. And I always tell folks, they're on the list.
Yeah.
It's just towards the bottom.
Yeah, it's low on the list. Yeah.
Right? It's above the single-shot shotgun.
Yes.
The double-barrel's just above that.
Semi-auto above that, right?
Right. Yeah. It's tough living in an anti-gun state.
Do you feel that you meet a lot of people. Do you feel that the gun industry? I would say the gun industry has been very nice to me. People are very, very kind. But do you feel like it is splintered? Everyone's got their own sort of thing they're into. And
I think it's. I was talking with some people about this recently. I think it's to the point where the NRA people don't really talk to the people that are into the Second Amendment Foundation, and the people that are with the Gun Owners of America don't really talk to the SAF people. And one of my friends, Amanda Suffolk, she says it's like the 5 rings of the Olympics. You know, some of the SAF people talk to some of the GOA people. Some of the GOA people talk to some SAF and some NRA, but the NRA and the SAF doesn't really get together. And then on the other side, you move farther down, then you have the FPC and, you know, all these other groups. So it would be great for all of us to get along. Yeah, it really would.
There is definitely...
Oh, crap.
You lost it?
I think I did.
No way.
I believe I did. Like not. It is there.
Whoa. Scared me for a second.
So yeah, so we it would be great if somebody pulled a Rodney King and we all just got along. You know, it really would be
You
good.
would think when you hear these like federal bills, assault weapon bill, you would think that would unite everybody.
You would think so.
You would think, but you know what happens then is you have, like, what I find, because, you know, people that are watching this, like, you know, Keith and I are from New York. We always say, you know, creating quality content behind enemy lines, right?
Yeah.
But like, I always feel like the guy in Texas is like, well, that's their problem. Like they don't have their ducks in a row, but we're good here.
We hear that a lot.
And I always say, like, let us be the cautionary tale. You know, like let us be the situation, the worst situation that you could possibly imagine, and then help us. Right? Like help us fix our situation and continue to like strengthen your situation.
The most common thing we hear probably is, well, just move.
Yeah.
You know, just leave your state.
Right.
I wish.
I'm kind of facing that. Like, part of me wants to stay in Massachusetts and part of me wants to move.
Yeah.
And it's not because Massachusetts is an anti-gun state. And I tell people this, and man, I don't want to say I feel bad saying it, but when I talk to friends that are from Free America, particularly I was talking to a guy that's an instructor in Texas, and, you know, he's like, you should move from Massachusetts, it's the anti-gun state, blah, 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 blah. And I said, so this is before they went to constitutional carry. I said, so what do you have to do to get a carry permit here? Well, you got to take a 6-hour class and 3 hours of live fire. I said, you know, here's what you have to do in Massachusetts. You take a 4-hour non-live firing class, pay $100, pass a background check, submit all your information, you get your permit. 4 hours non-live firing. And I said, you can get your permit after you get your license, your license to carry. You can go to a gun store, buy a gun, buy ammo, buy a holster, and carry it out. And they're like, well, no live fire? Nope. Any self-defense stuff? Nope. No self-defense laws, no tactical, nothing. And they're like, well, that's crazy. Yeah, okay. You're in Texas. I got 4 hours of non-live firing class.
Right. Yeah.
So it's
you know, it's weird because like New York, if you've never been to New York, right, and it's a beautiful state. I mean, there's 4 seasons, 4 distinct seasons. The fall here is beautiful. I mean, it's probably your favorite time of year, right? It's one of mine.
Yeah.
It's, you know, there's different terrains. I mean, it is a beautiful place to live, and there's a lot of things that you can do here. But it is 100% draconian and not free. And what I mean, forget the gun thing for a second. I want to buy some cryptocurrency just to toy around. What I want to buy, New York won't let me buy it here.
That's ridiculous.
And I've asked friends and said, why do you think that is? Well, they just feel that it's real risky and they don't want you to, you know, someone to take.
Why do they have to protect us from that?
Exactly.
Right.
They want to protect me from me. Like, let me make my own stupid decisions, and I'll deal with the consequences. You know, but it is a very unfree place to live in, unfortunately.
More now than ever. I think that mentality of these elected officials who feel that their leaders have to make these decisions to protect us, and it's just not what it was designed to do. It's just not what it's supposed to be.
Yep.
Yeah, we should be free to make our own choices.
Yeah, sure.
Good or bad.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Seems like the criminals are.
Yeah.
They're free to make their own choices.
They're actually making things laxer for them, right? with the bail reform, like now, you can commit a crime, you're out on the street the next day.
Oh yeah, we hear those stories all the time. We have a couple of friends in the neighborhood that are police officers in City of New York.
Revolving door of justice.
Yep.
Yeah, really
if you want to buy cryptocurrency, the wrong state. But if you want to rob a house and be out on the street the next day, this is the place to live.
Yeah.
Just come to New York.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So you guys have you started the shooting league in the neighborhood, which sounds totally cool. When does this lead to starting the Gun Experiment podcast?
So we talked about obviously, like, we were into the gun thing, both of us in our own ways, and I had wanted to do a podcast. I really wanted to do. I thought it was a cool concept. I listened to podcasts, and I just didn't have the drive to do it. And then COVID came, and we're all cooped up, and I said, if I'm ever going to do this thing, this is the time to do it. Right? Now's the time. And, there's a very low barrier to entry to starting a podcast, right? I mean, you get a microphone. You don't even need a microphone, really. Just your cell phone.
Yeah.
Right, you can use your phone.
But I'm usually a all or nothing guy, so I said, let me go and get some equipment. I bought some basic equipment, and I said, I need a guest. And my first guest was Keith.
Never been aired.
Never been aired. I do have it. I always say maybe on like the 100th episode, it'll be a bonus thing. But
that's cool.
So I said, let me get Keith, all with the underlying plan of trying to convince him to be my co-host. He didn't know that at the time.
I had no clue.
Right, little
No
Jedi
clue.
mind trick.
Yeah. And I really thought a two-person show would be better. You have someone to bounce ideas and just, I thought that would be really cool.
Rib each other.
Yeah. And so we did it, and we started out, and I had a little notebook of things I was going to do to progress the show, and I had a list of guests. And on that list were everything from guys I knew, like people that were kind of like just friends, and all the way up to some like bigger names in the industry. And I just started checking them off, and like Daniel Shaw was a guy that, I don't know if you know Daniel Shaw.
I know his name. I think Yehuda was going to try to connect us.
Okay, and
he's in Dallas, right?
He is now, I believe, in Texas. I believe now he is. And I listened to his podcast. I thought he was a great guy. I wanted him on the show, and like we checked that box. We could get him on the show. He was a great guest.
Yep.
And it just progressed from there. You meet one person, and then you meet another, and before you know it, you're getting these great guests on. And we bought more equipment. I'm in the process of building a studio now, and
That's awesome.
It's been a great experience. I love the Gun Experiment, the name, right? I like guns. I will not profess to be someone that knows it all.
Yeah.
So the name, the Gun Experiment, like we love meeting new people, learning new things, and experimenting with new concepts in the gun industry. So that's kind of our shtick is like, you do the driving and talking.
Yeah.
We're trying to constantly learn new things and put content out there of everything from tactics to, gun industry news and review gear and everything else.
I think it's really helped us too to have that approach with guests of saying that we don't know everything, we're just trying to experiment, because we've learned a lot, right? Guests have come on, and I think that kind of lowers the bar, and if they have knowledge and we're having a good conversation, they're willing to share it openly without a condescending, attitude about it, and we've gotten to do some really cool things, right?
Definitely.
Some cool courses, and we have a low light course coming up with Ben DeWalt that we're gonna go do, which is gonna be fun.
Have you guys? I listened to the show with Ben, and he's a great guy. He's a great instructor. It's a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah, we had him on the show. I mean, he's very knowledgeable. I mean, his course catalog is ridiculous. The one that I'm like, he does a there's a long story behind this, but he does defensive shotgun, which Keith is obviously right in his wheelhouse. But I hunt with a lever action 30-30. And he does a defensive lever action course, which is like, I mean, who does that? It's not really very well, it's not out there, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's great. He's pushing the envelope and doing different things. And so just having guests on like that, it's great. You get to talk to these guys and pick their brains and hear their backstories.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I've everybody that I've met in the gun community has been super supportive and encouraging. There's only a few people that I've asked to be on my show that haven't done it. It's not like they've said no. One of them said no. The other people are like, yeah, we'll see what we can do, and blow it off. But it's just the time wasn't working out. But everybody's been great, man. Everyone's really cool. Everyone's nice to hang out with and talk with, and getting together with these people really is it's great. It's fun. There are plenty of people that are in different areas of firearms.
Yeah.
The self-defense guys, the AR guys, the handgun guys. It's all different stuff.
Yeah, I was talking to some listeners of the show, just back and forth on some DMs on Instagram and stuff, and I said, tell me what kind of stuff you guys want to hear.
What do you know? Yeah.
And
real quick, you're gonna take one by. You're gonna take this 218, not this one, the next one, south.
218 south. Okay.
know, and it's like while I'm talking to them, I'm like, what do you want to hear? And they gave me their thoughts on things. But one of the things that I thought was great, the feedback that some of them gave me was, I like the fact that, you know, you talk to all these different people, and that you bring on a little bit of everything. And you know, there's just so many different people out there doing so many different things that I think it's great when shows like yours, shows like ours, are able to highlight all these different people.
Yeah.
You know, because they're all doing great things, and they deserve to kind of have their spot, their moment in the spotlight. You know, it's great.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun. Everyone's been really cool. It's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
I mean, like we had some guests. Like, so we had our first female guest was Jackie Billings. And she is with Pew Pew Tactical. I don't know if you know her.
I have not met her. I know we're friends on the social media.
Yeah, I think she's Micro Jackie on social media, right?
She was probably the most supportive guest that we had on. Like, she made us feel like $1 million after we got done talking with her, you know?
Yeah.
And she was the definition of like grace.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, very, very poised. You'd ask a question, she wouldn't like go on like long run-ons, which I know I'm guilty of. But I mean, she really was.
And she really supported us. She's really pushed the show for us and helped us out in a lot of different ways.
218 South.
Yep. So you're gonna make not this right.
Not this
one. Yes, this one. I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah, because it's not the ramp.
And you just stay straight.
Yeah, but she was definitely one of my favorite guests in terms of just so easy to interview and just such a genuinely good person. You know, like someone you're glad to see that's in the industry.
Yeah, that's cool.
Keith, you got anyone?
Yeah, who are some other favorites?
Joshua Prince is still one of my favorite. I mean, I like talking to lawyers. I don't know, and we just had a great conversation with him, and it was right around the time that the NYSERPA case, Supreme Court of New York, and NYSERPA was about to start.
It was Corlett first, right?
Yeah,
yes.
right. Yeah. And Corlett and NYSERPA, yeah. And he came on and we kind of talked through what the panel of judges might look like, how they might go, and we talked about, you know, moving to Pennsylvania and being able to buy machine guns, which was really cool.
Isn't that a fun idea? I got a machine gun license. In Massachusetts, you have to be a bona fide collector or a police trainer. So
You're a police trainer.
I'm like, what do you have to do to be a bona fide collector? I found out you have to get a Curio and Relic license.
Okay.
So I spent the money to get a Curio and Relic license. The day after it came in the mail, I went to the police station and I'm like, I want to set up an appointment to apply for a machine gun license. And they said, okay, great. They gave me the application. I went in, did the interview. Everything was fine. Showed them my CNR. Easy peasy, done. 5 weeks later, I get a phone call. 5 weeks. 5 weeks later, I get a phone call, and this lady, I answer the phone. This lady's like, I said hello, and she's like, I've never seen one of these before. I'm like, can I help you? And she's like, oh, this is so and so from the police station. Your gun license is in, but I've never seen one like this. She's like, it's got a green stripe on the top. I'm like, that's because it's a machine gun license. She's like, oh, you're the only person in town that's got one.
You're like, kind of cool, right?
Right?
What are the rules at Mass? Like, you can have it at home, or?
Dude, I don't have $30,000 for a rifle. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's like you could have one, you just don't have one.
Right, you can have it. You just can't shoot it. You can have a 10-round magazine.
Straight across that next stop sign, and then make a left.
All right.
You know, in Pennsylvania, everything's a lot freer, right?
Oh
so
my gosh.
So one of the things that Joshua Prince is known for is setting up trusts.
Yeah.
And so he helps facilitate people's journey through that.
Yeah, that's the machine gun thing.
Yeah. But
have you guys been to one of those?
We went to Tony Simon.
Yeah, so we had Tony Simon on the show.
Was it this year?
Yeah. It was only a few months back.
Oh. So we just got a quick selfie at a tank at West Point. I have no idea West Point was here.
Oh, really?
I have no idea where West Point would be, and here it is.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I was going to tell you when we were planning this, I'm like, we could take you up to, West Point military. I'm like, he knows what West Point is. I'm like, you don't have to tell him that.
So it's a place I've never gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, so you were telling us about Tony Simon, and you guys went to Josh Prince's...
So not Josh Prince's. So we were talking to Josh, we talked about machine guns, and then we had Tony Simon on. For those that don't know who Tony Simon is, he does his 2A for everyone diversity shoots. Right?
Yeah.
And he was telling us about it. He said, we got one in Jersey coming up, one in Pennsylvania.
Timing was just perfect. It was like a couple weeks down the road.
Yeah, and he was like, why don't you come to... I said, well, which one do you want us to come to? And he said, why don't you come to PA? You could shoot a machine gun. And we were like, in!
Boom.
And so I was like, what does it cost? And he's like, it's $20.
It was the best $20 I think I ever spent.
You go spend $20.
Quickest $20.
We got to meet a bunch of cool people. We got to shoot a bunch of cool guns. We're gonna do it again. My father-in-law and one of my wife's cousins was like, "Why didn't you?"
Love this. It's like we're in Utah all of a sudden.
One of my wife's cousins was like, "Why didn't we get invited?" So now I got people that want to come to the next one.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, Tony's a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun.
He's a lot of fun. We're gonna.
He felt like an old friend. It felt like someone that we had known forever.
This is one of the things that I love. Like we all, the people that have YouTube channels, podcasts, you listen to them, you feel like you get to know them, even though when they invite you to their house, they're complete strangers.
Yeah. That's what you said when we met.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, we had you on our show, and I talked to you the other day on the phone, and it's like, I know you, kinda. Like, I feel like I know you, and then you're at my door, and I'm like, this is really you. Like, you're funny.
You look like you sound.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my God.
Yeah.
John Petrolino, who writes for Amaland and Bearing Arms and JM4 Tactical, and he's doing some stuff for Langley Outdoors. He and I, he started messaging me, wanted to have someone on the show. Took a while to make that happen. Then he's like, hey, when are you making more shirts? And I'm like, I don't know, man. The shirts were kind of a pain in the neck, and I got to come up with all the money up front. And so then he designed some stuff for some shirts. He's like, look, you can do these print on demand. And I'm like, yeah, I know, blah, blah, blah. And I just came up with an excuse. So he finally comes out and says, listen, I want to buy a shirt with your logo on it. Let's set this up.
Right.
I'm like, okay. So then he's like, hey, when are you coming down to Jersey? I'd like to be on the show, So I go down to Jersey. I'm walking into his house. I'm like, I've never been to this guy. I don't know him.
Yeah.
This is a little weird.
Yeah.
Ring the door. You're like, hey, how you doing? He's like, come on in. Everything's cool. Let's. I'm like,
You're fine. We'll be able to. There'll be like another exit to turn around. So just do whatever you want to do.
Okay.
And turn around. And make it happen.
Right.
Well, like I had mentioned earlier, I'm in the process of building out a studio, and ultimately, maybe I think it'll open up the door if Keith and I decide we want to ever do some video, and provide that.
We're starting to come around to the video idea, especially here with you today. But it's just we both still have a pretty good distance to go in our career.
Yeah.
And living in New York, and
oh my gosh,
we talk about this a lot on the show, and I think we even talked about it with you, Charlie, when you were on our show. But I think some 2A people in the industry would probably call us posers for just not embracing how we feel about this stuff. But at the same time, we have families, we have
families,
and
right.
We invested this time, and
it really is like living I don't want to say a double life, but it's
weird.
Yeah.
I was at my day job, and someone was like, what are you doing this weekend? And like, how do you explain I'm going to go shoot guns, which that shouldn't be, and then I'm going to ride around with a guy that I've never met and talk about guns.
Right.
It's like a weird, it's like people don't get that. Like they're like, what?
They're afraid to say hello at the gas pump, right?
Yeah.
You're pumping gas next to somebody you've never met.
Yeah, we bought coffee, and they said, what do? You have all these cameras, and you're like, I talk about guns, and the girl was like, the window got closed, like she closed the glass
another
door.
Mask on her face.
Yeah, got weird. Yeah.
Look, you asked why. Like, I'm not gonna lie about this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, West Point didn't seem to care. They just don't have cameras outside the car.
But it is a little. Would you agree that it's a little freeing when you do say it? Like when you actually say it, it's like, man, I just said it, and nothing bad happened.
So, you guys are married. I'm on some dating apps.
Okay.
And I don't use my real name.
Okay.
I don't say that I'm not pro-gun. I think I do mention it.
Do you catfish?
But, I don't.
Okay. All right.
I don't. I just. I don't want to deal with some crazy woman that wants to oh my God, you're into guns, blah, and then have my stuff taken away from me.
You get rid of
So right, so I've gone out with a couple women, and they're like, so what do you do? I'm like, I'm just a teacher, divorced. I had a couple kids, and then you get to know them, and you're like, all right, so I got this YouTube channel. I travel around the country. I make videos. People all over the world watch me do stuff, and they're like, what? Yeah.
And your real name is not Steve?
Right. So
you kind of catfish. It's like a pro
really,
2A catfish. You're like,
right.
Yeah, you're like
I don't know who you are, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what I do because it's not really any of your business yet.
Yeah.
So well, up here, it's going to be a traffic circle. This is like a Paramount Bridge. So you're just going to do the traffic circle and come back to the movie.
All right.
Well, maybe you're missing your true calling. Maybe you should start a pro 2A dating service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could call it.
Right.
I call it Give It a Shot.
Give it a shot.
Look at that. Nice.
No misfires here.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're shooting blanks.
Oh.
Waka.
Yeah, but we were talking about Keith and I doing video maybe. One thing that I didn't think was going to be a big part of us having a studio is there's more people, more and more, like Tony Simon's a good example. He's in Jersey. You're in Massachusetts. I could actually have people in the studio, which is like, to have that human connection, that interaction is a different thing. Which you get.
I get it. One of the things, not that my show is any better or worse than anyone else's, what I like about my show is I've got to get people in the car, we've got to drive around, we've got to talk about stuff. And there's definitely a different energy.
Yes.
We're having an intimate conversation in a car, man.
Yeah.
Like, we're dealing with traffic and getting coffees, and it's different. It's not that it's better, it's not that it's worse, it's just different. It's a different kind of connection you have with people.
Yep.
And to see someone in face and have them in person and have them in front of you it's a completely different connection.
Well, it's how I feel about blogs. Like, I think blogs are great, and I think I said as one of my goals for this year is to get more blogs on our website. But the reality is I can't sink my teeth in it because to talk is a very intimate, that conversation piece.
Yeah.
But, and I love that medium, conversation, where writing, it feels very cold to me.
Yeah.
I can't sink my teeth into that too much. But
one of the things I recently came back from the SHOT Show. One of the things that I like is, and this is completely superficial, I like that people I've had on the show will see me out of the corner of their eye and they'll come over and say hi, and you're like, oh my God, they just come over and said hi to me.
Right.
Which is really cool. I went to one booth, and there was the person I want to talk to, who's the head of the group, he was there. And there's all these other people around there, and they have no idea who I am.
Yeah.
And then they see me, they're like, "Oh, Charlie, good to see you. Hey, come on in, man." And he's just
cool.
like bypassing everybody to hang out with the top dog.
Get by the gatekeepers.
Right. Yeah. It's good stuff.
That's cool. And make you feel good, because as you start off, like when I started the pod, nobody knows you.
Nobody knows.
Right.
Absolutely.
But then eventually, you know a few people, and I had someone reach out the other day and said, "Hey, you should have this guest on," and this person's a way bigger name in the industry.
Yeah.
Like, wait, you're reaching out to me to tell me, this guy, connect me with this person? That's so cool, and it makes you feel like your hard work is paid off a little bit.
It does, and I get it. There's a feeling of satisfaction with that, which is great.
It's like your baby has sort of grown a little bit.
Yeah,
I think the best feeling of that though is when you get listener or viewer interaction, when you get someone who responds to you and remarks to you and says, like we had one recently that was happy that there was somebody helping talk about New York State, talking about the struggles that we go through and how we can fix some of these things. And that's a rewarding thing too.
Ultimately, like you said, superficially and so I guess as much of a vanity way as you can have, it's cool to be in the industry and to talk to industry people. It's kind of cool.
It is.
But I think what makes me the happiest is when I reached out to recently a few people, like I said, asked them for their opinions on the show. And the one guy's like, I don't know if you're still listening. If you're not, it's not a big deal. I get it.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I never miss an episode. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome, That's and another guy who I'm working on a little something, maybe a little giveaway action on our show. And the guy is like, I listen to your show every day in my shop while I'm working. I'm like, man, like that's awesome, and
that is great.
It's just really cool to know that you're making a difference in someone's life, you know, and helping them out. So it's cool.
I know, Charlie, you said the only continent you haven't had someone listen to is Antarctica, but we're not quite there yet. But when we do get a comment from somebody who's in another country, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh my gosh,
wait, we're doing this in our house, and you know, a year in, we got people listening in other countries. You know,
I got this cool thing from some site that ranks podcasts throughout the world.
Yeah.
And I just got a random thing. And it was like, you're number 12 in the wilderness category in Spain. And I'm like, it's a weird stat, but kind of cool.
I think we need to learn Spanish.
Wilderness category, right. For the Gun Grams, my biggest fan for the Gun Grams is a guy that lives in Spain, but he's an Indian guy.
Okay.
So he always wants to be the first one to see the Gun Gram and comment on it and give it the thumbs up. And I'm like, okay, man, whatever. Like, let me know when you're putting videos out. I want to be the first one to see them.
That's cool.
Get this exit here if you want to go back.
All right, let's. Do you want to go to West Point?
It's up to you. You call.
Well, the museum is really cool. If you've not seen it,
I haven't seen it.
They have an amazing gun collection.
Why don't we do it? Let's do it.
It's one of the best.
Let's do it.
So you might have to.
You might have to get in the right lane.
Yeah, I don't know if there'll be another. There should be another exit. Hopefully.
Otherwise, we're lost. Okay.
We'll flip around.
All right. So, any last? Who's your favorite? You guys had the Jackie on. Who's another favorite?
Josh,
Tony.
Who else would you say is? Well, I always like to hear the story. I know we talked about it a little earlier, but not on air. But Tony Blauer, like that was like a personal thing for you.
Tony Blauer was cool because like I just follow his stuff, and like, you know, I mean, Tony Blauer was on like Black Belt magazine when I was like in 8th grade,
right?
You know. And I was like, I reached out. It's not really a gun thing, but it goes in the whole, like, you know, survival, self-defense, and like, so it was really
wilderness.
Cool. Wilderness, yeah. Spain can listen to that,
right?
But it was just kind of cool to like have that guy on, you know, and hear his whole life's journey, and you know, I mean, I want to shout out like Rob Pincus was on our show, and like Rob had us out for a course. He let us train with him.
He's past guest to us.
He's past guest. I mean, you know,
awesome.
So. That whole having guests on and then having them kind of reach out to you and help you in your journey, and, you know, it's great. It's very cool.
It is. It's reassuring and makes you feel great.
I really can't say I have a favorite, but there's just been some that stood out.
Yep.
As people who, you know, we stay in contact with, and you know,
that's awesome.
We say Tony because, like, I mean, every once in a while I'll reach out to Tony, and like Keith said, it's like your old friends. You know, it feels natural.
I love it. It's really good stuff. All right, well, listen, we are almost back to West Point. We're going to wrap things up. How can people find The Gun Experiment, and where can they find it? Okay, so we are on thegunexperiment.com is our website. That kind of is the gatekeeper to all these other places. If you want to go that way, you can join our mailing list there. Obviously, we are on every podcast directory that you can think of, you know, Apple, Spotify, Google, and all the other ones. Yeah. And we're on Facebook. We are on Instagram at The Gun Experiment. And we are on Twitter, although I do nothing with Twitter. But it will. Getting rid of Twitter. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but we are there. Taking a right. Okay. But Instagram's probably where I spend the most time social media-wise. If you want to DM us, that's where you can DM us. That's it. You know, we're everywhere. If you Google The Gun Experiment, we pop up on everything. That's awesome. Yeah. All right. Thanks for having us on. Yeah, I'm glad to have you guys on. Thank you for letting me drive your car. You're very welcome. Thanks for having me down here. Before we wrap things up, you should check out the Second Amendment Foundation at saf.org. You can support the Second Amendment Foundation's other side at the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms, the CCR-BKA. You can check out all of your favorite podcasts on the U.S. SDRN.us. On the Self-Defense Radio Network. It's all your favorite pro-freedom podcasts in one place. And you can check out these guys on The Gun Experiment. Thank you guys for watching the show. We're glad you guys are here. We hope you watch more shows, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for being on. Oh, I forgot. How could I forget? Thank you. Boom. I want to give you guys... some Gun Gram stickers and patches. We'll do these later since we're still got places we're going. But you guys can get these at writingshotgun.com, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks again. Cool. Thanks, Charlie.